Hello mate, welcome back. Yo, what's going on friends? Welcome on back to Football Therapy. How you doing? Are you alright? I really hope you're doing well friends. I really do hope that. And yes, of course, welcome back to Chelsea News, Hey? Your favourite. Lots to get into today. Positive news regarding Reece James and N'Golo Kante. Hopefully citing an article, well not hopefully citing an article, we're citing an article on Sky Sports, so that hopefully good news. And we're going to reference a sensational statement from BILD. Newcastle 1, Timo Werner, the same Timo Werner who's out here scoring worldies for Germany and scoring for Chelsea again against Southampton. Informed Timo Werner. No wonder Newcastle won him. We'll have a look at that and reflect on that as well. Maybe talk about Newcastle. Settle in, get comfortable, subscribe if you want to. You're welcome to subscribe. Try it out. Click the button. But I would, as a favour, ask you, dear sweet friend, to drop a like on the video. See if we can get a bunch of likes, You and me together. Click. Oh, you've done it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Alright, let's get into it. Today we're starting off with an article from Sky Sports talking about how N'Golo Kante and Reece James are both back in training before the Brentford game. Of course, we know one thing about this Brentford game. That's right, it's going to be refereed by the OG Fraudiola himself, Anthony Taylor. We've reflected on this in the previous video, I think yesterday. 2 wins out of 11. He sends out players off. He gives penalties. It's a frustrating affair being refereed by him. But we're not going to ruminate too much on the negatives, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about the positives. And the positives in the shape of Reece James. A really, really important player for us, I think now, especially the more as we reflect on Romelu Lukaku getting the most out of them. And the type of service Reece James offers in that right wing back position. Very, very important indeed. And of course, N'Golo Kante sorely missed against Juventus. And you can actually say the same thing about Reece James sorely missed against Man City. Was the game he came off, of course. I reckon if he stayed on, we would have actually got more service to Big Rom up front. So let's jump into this article from Sky Sports, see what it's saying, and we can reflect on the information along the way. N'Golo Kante and Reece James back in training ahead of Brentford trip. Chelsea head coach Thomas Tuchel has been boosted by the return of N'Golo Kante and Reece James to training ahead of Saturday's trip to Brentford. N'Golo Kante and Reece James are back to fitness and in contention for Chelsea's Premier League game. France midfielder Kante took tentative steps forward last week after self-isolation, after testing positive, and has returned to full Chelsea training on Tuesday. That is massive news. If you look at Brentford and how they play lately, and how dynamic they are in transition, Brentford slap you so quickly on the break. You absolutely need the best mopper-upper? I was going to say the best... Okay, I don't know what to say. The best person to defend in transition, maybe in the world, probably in the world, is N'Golo Kante. England fullback James missed the international fixtures due to an ankle problem, but has also shaken off his injury to return to action at the Blues training base. Quote, 2 key players have returned to Chelsea training to provide Thomas Tuchel with a welcome boost ahead of Saturday's trip to Brentford, read a Chelsea statement. Midfielder N'Golo Kante has returned to full training at Cobham following his period of self-isolation, whilst Reece James was also involved after withdrawing from the England squad last week due to an ankle injury picked up in the game against Manchester City. Hugely positive news regarding Reece James, because when he did that ankle injury, that sprain, you heard like doctors on social media coming out saying, oh, this could be 3 months, 1 to 3 months. Maybe because he's younger and healthy, it could be closer to 1 month, 6 weeks. And we were all fearing the worst, but for him to come back into training so quickly is a huge boost for us Chelsea. World Cup winner Kante will bolster Chelsea's rank for the trip to take on Thomas Frank's Bees, with the former Leicester star now in line to feature in defensive midfield. James's ability will add options to either right centre-back or right wing-back for the boss Tuchel, although Chelsea will be left to wait on injury concerns for other players. Yeah, in regards to Reece James, I would absolutely put him back to right wing-back, and you can play Azpilicueta or Trevor Chalobah at right centre-back. I want that dynamism up and down the pitch. I want that energy. And most of all, like I said earlier in the video, I want those crosses into Romelu Lukaku for him to head or take down and, play in one of the 10s or take a shot on. I think it's a hugely important factor for us. Reece James coming back into left wing-back position can offer that on the left, but really, our first choice wing-backs should be Reece James and Ben Chilwell. the two who started the Champions League final against Manchester City that saw Chelsea become the champions of Europe. Christian Pulisic continues to battle ankle trouble while Romelu Lukaku suffered with muscle soreness on Belgium duty. You'd imagine Romelu Lukaku would be fit and fighting, ready to go. I think that muscle soreness might have been a thing, but I think it was largely also to try and avoid that third place playoff game for Belgium, which is a bit of a nothing game, you know, so I think possibly he got out of that for that. Similar with Eden Hazard. Pulisic's an interesting one, of course. I think he could be a key player for us. Look, man, this Chelsea side is peculiar at the moment. The good performance against Southampton, you know, players coming in like Ruben Loftus-Cheek that have changed the dynamic, Hudson-Odoi who played well, you know, Timo Werner looking like a starter now when he wasn't at the beginning of the season. There's a lot of uncertainty. It seemed like you knew who was going to feature and how people were going to play, but, you know, things have changed. Suddenly Trevor Chalobah's a shoo-in. Suddenly, you know, like I said, Timo Werner and Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Christian Pulisic could quite easily come in and play well after these long injury problems, and just, we know he's good enough to be amazing. He looked at one point, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again, talismanic for Chelsea. After the lockdown period under Lampard, he looked like one of the best players in the league. So he could come in, if he's, you know, his ankle's okay, he could come in and he could just be like a baller. It could happen. Be open to it. Christian Pulisic could return to the team and be vital. I think Lukaku will be fine. I don't know if Pulisic will come in straight away, but when it comes to this weekend and playing Brentford, N'Golo Kante returning, Reece James returning, for me personally, is huge. Whether or not Reece James will start, I'm not so sure, but personally, I'd like to see them both start, and if they do, that would be a big welcome sight for me. Right, let's move on to the second part of the video and talk about BILD's statement, Christian Falk, regarding Timo Werner. Now, we know Newcastle are now the richest club in world football by some way. Incredible amounts of money. Timo Werner is in form, scoring against Southampton, one nice goal, one offside goal. Of course, he scored two lovely goals last time out for Germany. Both of them were great, and the second finish was like, you know, where did that come from, Timo Werner? He absolutely stops and whips that far corner with a lot of bend on it, like superb technique and, you know, confidence to pull off that finish. So we're all, I imagine, as Chelsea fans, very excited to see Timo Werner come back and return to the side, maybe combined with Romelu Lukaku up front. But not in a 3-5-2, maybe a 3-4-1-2. And guess what? Mason Mount returning to the side, who was of course absent against Man City, and I think Juventus as well. And we lost both those games, and certainly against Man City when we played that 5-2, Werner and Lukaku were isolated. So to, you know, someone with a high press that can, you know, turn over the ball quickly, high up the pitch, like Mason Mount playing in behind Lukaku and Werner, could be a very, very exciting prospect indeed. So I personally would like to see that. And I'm feeling really positive about Timo Werner again. And of course, this news pops up linking him to Newcastle United. Before I read you the tweet and we reflect on it. Newcastle United, people haven't really sunk in yet. They are by far the richest club in the world. I think their owner's wealth makes up like 75% of the Premier League, and that's including the Glazers, the Kroenkes, Roman Abramovich, FSG, the Abu Dhabi, who own Man City, who are stinking rich. So there's so much money for them to make 75% of that up. They will win eventually. Money works. Money will win, especially if you're spending it to win. Like Chelsea, like Man City, and they've got way more than both Chelsea and Man City. They will spend money. I'm not saying they'll just randomly buy Mbappe straight away, but they will have ambition, so people need to accept how they have money and they will spend it and they will win the league, probably sooner rather than later. And that sounds sensational. I'm not saying they will do it in the next 2 or 3 years, but you know, from the team that's got relegated recently, they will go because they'll just have a great manager and great players, and they'll spend. They'll get a good analysis people, they'll get good backroom staff, stats people, they'll do it all. Director of football, they'll bring them all in, and they'll all come because they want the money. So they'll all come and they'll win. They'll do it. Anyway, let's reflect on this tweet by Christian Falk. True, Newcastle United is interested in Timo Werner. The agency of Werner has already a client with Fabian Schär at Newcastle and is in regular contact with the club. True or not true, Newcastle want Werner. Hashtag true. Wow! Just because they want him, does that mean they can get him? Would Timo Werner want to go to Newcastle? I'd say almost certainly not at the moment, but if, for example, he doesn't start, let's talk about in a really, really unlikely theoretical world here. He doesn't get all the starts he wants at Chelsea. They offer him silly money. They build a team around him. They bring in Julian Nagelsmann from Bayern, his favourite like coach that he played under or whatever. You know, there is a world where they do all these things, they pay him silly money and make him a talisman. Maybe. Just because they won it, is it going to happen? Almost certainly not. Very unlikely. I mean, they've got Callum Wilson, that's a good striker. They've been linked with like an Anthony Martial, who's probably more likely, which was interesting because maybe he's a similar profile of Werner. I think Werner's probably high because he's won the Champions League. But you know, Martial scored more goals for United than Werner has scored for Chelsea. But Werner seems more useful and has been utilised more under Tuchel than perhaps Martial has been under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So that's why perhaps he's got a bit more of that sort of reject vibe, and I say that in the nicest way. Though he could probably go to Newcastle United over Timo Werner. But if they want to be, like, if they're thinking, right, how do we go up the Premier League? Be a radically transitional team, hit teams on the break with pace, get us Timo Werner, we have the money. I don't know. There is a link there, like he said, Falk in that tweet, but personally, I think this is very, very unlikely. I don't think Werner would want to go, but apparently, Newcastle United and all their riches, they want Timo Werner. Anyway, guys, I'm going to end the video. Let me know what you guys think. Comment down below. Romelu Lukaku, Timo Werner, the partnership, Kante and James coming back, and Newcastle United. Feel free to talk about it all down in the comment section below, and let's start the conversation. If you want to support me, please do drop a like and consider subscribing if you're new. That's it. I'm out. Enjoy the football. I'll see you later.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living. I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought. Body bag the verse, outlined in chalk. In my life seen trouble, hustle on the double. Silence on the trigger like my pick got a muzzle. Yo, chick like to guzzle, bad boy stay in trouble. I only love this paper, sorry I don't. I laugh me, baby.